Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cleaning and Cocktails. You know the deal. I bring on people from the industry, share some stories, talk some shop, drink some cocktails, and enjoy ourselves. Because who said cleaning can't be fun? And who said being in the cleaning industry isn't fun? We're here to show you that it is. And I have a guest here, Karina Neff from Pioneer. But there's other brands and titles that we're going to talk about because if you don't know who Karina is, this is why I love to bring people on, because she's got a great story. She's a great leader. She's got a great role with the company that I look up to and I think are making some waves in the industry. But I'll let her go into all that, guys. So again, thank you for joining me on this episode, Karina. I appreciate you taking the time. Happy birthday. It is on her birthday. She takes the time to get on Cleaning and Cocktails. But you guys know what I said. I told her before this, I'm prepping her for her night out tonight. So you're welcome.
That's great.
You're welcome.
Yeah, 21 years old today. So I'm so excited to be here. And
there you go. I mean, kick things off. But Karina, before I go further into you, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got into the space. We're going to talk about the journey, but just a quick intro to who Karina is.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much for having me, Ricky. I'm so excited to finally do this. I know that you and I have been connecting so many different fronts, and really my experience or connection with you first was through ISSA, and it was because of ARCSI that I was immersed into that world. So I started off in the residential cleaning side with my mother, who actually owned a cleaning company, started in '89. After college, I actually graduated with a degree in communications, decided to come and do some freelancing work with her, and just fell in love, right? I was able to really understand the industry, but also at that point became obsessed with platform optimization. At that time, they were working with Service CEO, which is now WorkWave. And I remember that they were only using maybe 5 to 10% of the platform in a positive way. They were just doing essentially customer addresses and phone numbers. And so when I got my hands in it, I was like, okay, not only are we going to do crystal reports, but we're going to do email automation. We're going to do batch processing. I just really became infatuated with the technology within the cleaning industry. So fast forward to a couple of years later, I took over that cleaning company for her. With the desire really to tap into the commercial cleaning side because of the proximity to the DC government. I knew that it would be strategic for us to try to tap into the 8A certification and try to secure more government contracts. So I started a commercial cleaning company in 2019, was able to make some really great relationships and secure business with companies like Colliers and working with the federal government, a little bit in the private sector side. So then COVID happened. And at that time, I had to get super creative with how I was really approaching new opportunities. And so at that moment, I created this app that was called the CAD Countdown. And the CAD Countdown, essentially, you remember, Ricky, at that time, everybody was really nervous about cleaning, but they wanted to make sure that cleaning was done properly, and it was also done with a set frequency. So 3 times a day, cleaning and disinfecting. So I used that app to really leverage new opportunities. And then I met, and this is probably like the longest intro ever. You probably just wanted like a
keep it going. No, I need to know where you came to, where you're going for the audience. Come on now. I got the in-betweens. Okay.
So I created this app and started to really be creative about approaching property management companies, getting great feedback about the actual product. And then through another association that I know you're familiar with is BSCAI, I met Chase Carlson. And it was one of those town halls during COVID where everybody's still like scrambling and really wanting to understand, what do we do, right? Everyone's still really nervous about what's happening. And I always tease him about this, but he kind of side messaged me and he said, hey, you're new here and you're one of my competitors. And I'm like, that's so nice. I'm not really one of your competitors. I'm like this big compared to this, what you are. But we started chatting and immediately we just geeked out over tech. Like I showed him everything that I had built. He showed me what he had built with Pioneer World, and we immediately made the connection and decided to join forces and really consolidate. And our desire twofolds, right? For the tech side and the innovation side, but the deep admiration and respect for the frontline team, that is something that I hadn't seen before in someone like Chase. So I was like, done deal. So we joined forces, and it's just been skyrocket since.
Well, see, I appreciate that you did give as much as you did right now, because literally I was curious, and that was going to be one of my questions, Karina, is like when you did meet Chase and the Pioneer like partnership happened, because I didn't know about what you had done prior to that. I knew you were tech oriented. I know you had implemented technology, or you were infatuated with it, but kudos to Chase for recruiting you and picking you up. I was going to say, if you were in Chicago, we would be talking about a different scenario, but no, like I would tell you, when I met Chase for the first time too, that was the same thing. That's why I reached out to him, reached out to you. And again, when we talked, I think it was even through Chase when he connected us, but like, he definitely approaches business different. So I could see why you guys connected, and what you're doing with Pioneer, which we'll get into, is exciting. So for everybody that's listening or watching too, like, let's take a step back, but then get to where you're at today as far as the roles. So you got into the business with your mom. She's the owner. She was running the show. When you came on board, was it just you were thinking you were going to jump into help, or when did you say, you know what, I'm here to stay? Like this is something I actually want to take on.
That's a great question. So when I originally was asked by my mom to just kind of help, at that point, I was still in the PR space. I was working in the firm, and I had just given birth to my second son, Ryder. And it was one of those transition periods where I thought I could do this freelance and start my own gig as PR, or I can just moonlight a little bit for her. But then when I started to see the generational differences in business and how we approach business, I mean, I think my mom is such a testament to work ethic, perseverance, resiliency. And she just makes it up as she
instinct. She's got instinct.
She has so much instinct. Like, I remember when I was a kid, she'd have this table and she'd have all the job cards, and she would map things out based on like what she knew. And then she had these huge, remember those maps that were like this big? And she would like highlight and stuff. And so I saw that desire, or that like instinct of her, and I knew that at that time I could really help her with the platform side. And it's funny because when I was in college, I remember I had to take an elective, and one of the electives was coding, and I was like, oh, this is going to be silly. And I ended up taking the class, and because of that class, I can read and write code from that one tiny semester course. And so that's also,
and that's carried over to this day. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I think that for me, the technology side too has really been a journey, in the sense of like, when you start immersing yourself in technology, you really are looking to streamline operations. You want to improve productivity. And then you transition to maybe like you're wanting to show accountability and transparency for your customer, what you're doing. But then we're at this stage now, and I don't know if you agree with me, but it's more about data influenced versus data driven, right? Like you're looking at all this data that you're doing, or you're capturing, but how do you use that to make better decisions? And what we found is, with experience, with education, with knowledge and data, then you can make powerful decisions, versus when you use just the data to make rash decisions because, let's say, an inspection is showing bad numbers. Oh, drop everything, we got to go. Well, no, like let's really assess things and understand what is happening. And so that really, the desire to understand technology was started at Maximades with my mom, when I saw her and I made the decision. Okay, you know what? This isn't going to be a gig that's temporary. I'm going to immerse myself in the industry, and an industry, candidly, that has provided a future for me. Like, without Maximades, I couldn't have gone to college. My mom paid in cash for college because of Maximades, and so much gratitude for the people that have worked with my mother for 27 years. And like the sacrifice that I remember getting picked up at like 6 p.m. because she was working, and it's just a grind. The industry is a grind. It's really, really hard, especially being a Latina. And so you're working all day, and then you come home and you're feeding kids, or you're putting kids to bed. And so it was a little bit of everything.
So the Latina came out of Karina right now. So we're gonna push that button right now too, where So I love that your mother's working in the business. You found it where you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to help. But
Yeah.
then you're like, hey, you know what? I actually see an opportunity because of some of the skill sets that you had and you learned. But what was it by seeing your mom work that hard? And by the way, gangster, that college was probably like, who is this woman dropping a money
Yeah.
bag off? Or like, what
Yeah.
does she do? She's a cleaner. That's what she does.
Yeah.
So, but like, what was it, or what traits did you see? Obviously, hardworking, perseverance, all those, right? But like, when you saw her doing what she's doing, I know you wanted to help, but some of the things you probably said, you know what, I don't have to fix some of the things that aren't broken. Because that's some of the thing that people assume with technology. Oh, you're just going to come in and add technology, like you said,
Right.
everything's data driven. But what were some of the things that you saw with your mom that you said, you know what, this is the industry I want to be in. I do want to help her, because I think she probably had a big influence on you, right? Like you said,
Oh yeah.
it's because of her work in the beginning that got you through school. But did you feel like it was a payback? I feel like with Latinos, right? Like
Yeah.
we want to take care of our parents, right? My mother still works
Absolutely.
here with me, but like it's talk about that, the
Yeah.
relationship that you had with her.
I think it definitely started off as me seeing where I could help and streamline and save cost. I saw things within like even the procurement side of the supplies. I knew I could get things down to a more reasonable um, expense load. But then it turned quickly into the power behind controlling your own destiny and controlling your own journey. And that is what I saw as a business owner. Like I didn't need anyone to give me anything. I could make my own life. And I've been married for 15 years and my husband is incredible, but I knew I didn't need anything a man to make my life what I wanted it to be. And my mother showed me that. It was you work your ass off and you can get anything you want. You just have to work. And when you work at something that you love and you're doing it for the right reasons and the right people, it just becomes second nature. I mean, look at I see you grinding and grinding, and you can see that you genuinely love and you have a passion and desire for what you're doing in every aspect of it. And when you have that, it becomes really natural and it's hard to pull you away, right? Like
Yeah,
when you have that 6 o'clock and you're like, okay, I got to go home, I got to focus. I
yeah.
find myself still being like, okay, I got to be with the kids. I got to be with the kids because I love this industry. I love working all the time.
It's not because it's not work, right? It's
No,
not like
it's not.
we literally, I joke sometimes. I will stop in the office and I'm like, man, are we having too much fun? Like, hold on. Like, what if somebody walked in right now? If they saw this, should that guy be throwing the football and should they be taking a shot at 4 p.m.? I don't know if this is good. Hold on, we got to talk. But but we do what we want to do. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, we can do the things that we want to do. So I still want to talk about your mom too right now, right? When was the shift that she said, here, Karina, take over the business? Did she willingly do that? Or was she, or were you like, mom, okay, this is it. I can do this. I got to believe she was still always trying to stick around, right? And
Yeah.
showed up unannounced. I'm here. The boss is here. When did that, how
Yeah.
did the shift happen?
So my mom is a true alpha through and through. Like she is, I think the definition of an alpha, if you look in the dictionary, probably her picture's in there. She's very, very dominant. And I'm not that way. I like to say I'm more of like a silent alpha because I just put my head down and I work. I'm not as loud as she is in that sense. But I remember her throwing me into really, really difficult situations. For example, we got a class action lawsuit in 2017 and it struck me to my core. And I remember, I was coordinating with the lawyers and I was going through all these things, like big, big, heavy things. And I'm thinking, like, why isn't she helping me? Like, why isn't she stepping in? And I remember asking her, and she was like, you have to figure this out. I cannot help you. And I was like, well, great. But so after, I think after that moment, I think she thought, okay, it's either you can do it or you can't. And if you cannot do this without me, then I have to take the rounds again, because we were definitely going back and forth of like, who is the head of this company. And at that moment, I think she said, okay, she's ready. Once I was able to deal with that and really understand the consequence or the magnitude of that situation, and I think she, and also the vision, right, behind it, and going through all of the, not the busy work, but like understanding the vision and the mission, and like under giving that company a restructure, a rebrand, the foundation, all of that stuff. I think she really understood that this was the next level for MaxiMaids, and I was going to be that person.
Wow. So what I forgot to ask, what was her name, Karina? What's her name?
Janine,
Janine.
Garcia.
Janine put you to the test with an law action. What the shit?
Yeah.
I mean,
Didn't mess
it
around.
could have came at a different moment, but congrats to her for putting. I mean, that is proving your worth, right? That you are.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is. We're afraid sometimes to allow people to fail, right? I still am to this day. I'm guilty of probably jumping in things when I shouldn't. But that is what you have to do. I mean, you guys, that's a big shift. So let me ask you, Karina, is that so? MaxiMaids up until 17, 18, 19, all residential? No commercial, or when did commercial come into play?
Yeah, I mean, so commercial, we'd had like a small, maybe like, I think it was at that time, maybe 6%. So we were doing some offices, but majority was commercial, residential, excuse me. With that, the caveat always being that the commercial side would eventually come, but it was when I was ready and when we were ready to really set the time to get all of the certifications. And it's funny because when you try to straddle, from my experience, the residential and the commercial in one company in this area, it's just, they're two different models, and you can't do it. You got to separate it. And the way that you secure new opportunities is different. The way that you run labor is different. Everything is completely different. So we said we were commercial and residential, but in reality, we really weren't until 2009, when I created MGN Commercial Services, and I really
So two brands, two
completely different brands.
Okay, so to that point, I don't because I want to start getting into some of the tech stuff too, Karina. But commercial, residential, you always hear what you just said. You can't do both, but can you do both, or did you do both by having two separate brands? And was there two different leaders, one for commercial, one for residential? Like, what was your formula, or how did that work?
So once MaxiMaids was really in a place where I could walk away, I had been running as a CEO for 3 to 4 years. I had really secured our brand presence throughout this area, made really great connections. I left that seat and transitioned into the CEO of MGN Commercial Services, and I left someone else as that CEO. And then we were just attending board meetings with my mother and really trying to let that person take the realm of the business, with still the guidance that essentially I became my mom, and then my mom moved up, and then Alejandra came up. Yeah. And so that was really the great formula for us. It allowed me candidly to focus on commercial, because if I had straddled both as the CEO, I don't think that I would have been able to be successful. I couldn't. There's just no way. At that time, MaxiMaids was close to $2.6 million company. It was just not feasible for me to focus on commercial. There was too many crews. There's too many things that were happening. I think a lot of sense too, like it was my journey in being comfortable with the uncomfortable too, right? Like I had been very successful at MaxiMaids. I had made a great network. We were killing it at that time. And then I threw myself into an industry that I had zero to no knowledge of. Like I didn't have the experience. I didn't know how to do. All I knew is that it was different, and it was big. Like it was a huge difference between the two. So I was very focused on meeting people that were in the industry, and also interested in the people of the industry, right? Because there's large players around here that don't have the best reputation of how they treat people. And being a Latina, it's so important to me. The front line is so important. And the way that we treat others, and respect and admiration. And honestly, Ricky, I don't think that I have a job without the frontline team. I don't sit in my seat without them. So for me, you can't treat somebody badly and expect to be at this level. So that was a big other thing. Like I wanted to infiltrate this area, or this geographic area, for the lack of a better word, and really be intentional about how you treat others and that reputation and that brand. And then that's kind of where Chase blew me away, because I was like, you know what, he actually is following that same core value. So that was the perfect.
So, and then, because I did see you were a part of, you are or were a part of many different like women leadership organizations.
Yeah.
So you're shifting from, again, Maximades, you were, you could say, this is what I say about myself too, Karina, is like, we were, I was put in a C-level suite because I started the company and I built the company, right?
Right.
I don't know if I go apply for a CEO role at another company right now, but to say the least. So then you shift to commercial. Did you have support in leadership, or did you learn that you had to become a leader all over again? Because even the technicians are different on on commercial versus residential. So did you start like literally with zero, or did some people come over and did you have already a network of people to help you build up that company? Because a lot of, especially, women, Latina women, women with kids, I get a lot of those messages and calls like, Rick, I want to start the business. I don't know if it's the right time. I don't know if there's ever the right time, but I think every time is. But like, they're the ones that I'm getting a lot of calls from, Karina. So to that audience, like they see that they want to make an impact themselves and own their own roadmap, which is I think what you've said multiple times is you get to create your own values, create your own mission, create your own type of company, do it your way. You're in is leadership a big piece of what you try to teach yourself all the time?
So leadership to me, I think, is very it's evolving, right? Like, I'm not the same leader I was when I started with Maximades in 2012, and I think a lot of it has been more of a servant leader. When you first start out, I think leadership, you think you're the boss and you're making the orders, which now for me, I tried to stay away from that. I try to be more of like the opposite. And to answer your question about like how did I do it, I remember there's an organization called the Women's Presidents Organization, and that was so incredibly instrumental in my professional growth, because essentially it was a meeting every month. We sat around a round table type of discussion, and we unpacked big problems with each other. And we're all different industries, all different age levels, ethnicities, and it was they were really encouraging for me to break that barrier from going from residential to commercial. And then they also started pushing me in speaking engagements and things, and pushing me well out of my comfort zone. I remember one of the individuals connected me with one of the large players in this industry and wanted me to kind of pick his brain so that I could start understanding. And it was through those relationships that I started becoming more and more of a sponge, and was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn. But it was with those ladies that I was able to see the potential. I was able to see the growth, what questions to ask. And then organically, those friendships turned into business opportunities as well, because it wasn't a sale. The problem I always have with networking events is sometimes it feels very salesy, and I cringe with that, because I don't like for it to be transactional. Like, here's my business card. Here's my, it just doesn't, that's not
no more business cards. Come on.
Yeah, no
more.
Did you see, by the way, the Apple update, iOS 17? You don't have to have, oh my God.
No.
Ricky, come on.
What? No. I mean, I got the dot card. That's enough.
Away. You don't need that anymore. All you have to do is tap your phone to my phone, and it comes up with your contact card, but like on steroids. But
okay.
I digress.
Cool.
It's a
all right.
With those relationships, organic business opportunities really started to develop, and then they started to ask those tough questions like, what are your business goals? What are you going to, transition? When are you going to do this? Did you talk to the lawyer? Did you talk to this? And some of them were accountants, some of them were lawyers. So within that group, I started to really unpack the trajectory of MGN Commercial Services. And it wasn't, I believe honestly that without them, I wouldn't be where I am. I think they made such an incredible impact and a support system that I didn't even think that I could fathom that I needed in that way, because I can still call them and say, hey, Renee, I'm having an issue, and she'll point me in the right direction. We don't have to connect about, what I ate for dinner, but I know I can call them and say, hey, I'm having a legal issue, or I'm unpacking a new platform strategy. Like, what do you guys think? And boom, 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 done, move on. It's
So
awesome.
thanks. So Karina, you've said the word platform like 5 times. I love it. I love it. So here, think about this. So I remember my first probably 3 or 4 years, I never went into a room. Well, I agree with you. Networking, yeah, feels like salesy unless you have an intention or a purpose behind
Right.
your introduction. But I would tell you the first 3, 4 years, I was actually, believe it or not, I was not a talker in the first 3, 4 years. I would
No,
hold
I
back.
believe
I would hold back.
that.
But like, I was embarrassed, to be honest. I was like, oh, I own a cleaning company. Like, how am I going to walk into this event? This guy works for that. He owns that. I didn't think I had a chance to stand out. Right.
Really?
Then I started to gain more confidence, and like the company started to grow, and I was like, oh, you know what? I hit 7 figures, right, as revenue. I think I have some legs to stand on. Started to gain more confidence, but then now, fast forward to today, like it's crazy that us as a cleaning business owner wears so many hats, and if they do it, and if they're successful with it, and they gain, they have humility, but they learn from it. We can walk the walk and talk the talk with many different entrepreneurs. Like,
Right.
again, it's cleaning. You may think it's a cleaning company. I am more proud of being a cleaning business owner than I've ever been now. And I can talk about any department or conversation in any room with anybody. And it comes from owning a cleaning company. So like myself today would tell that guy back then, like, dude, it took you 3, 4 years to fucking get out of your comfort zone. But like, I'm, and I hear you talk, right? Like, again, you started with your mom, and you're talking, your perception of the industry is platform and streamlining and optimization. Like those are innovative words, but it's our industry. If we look at our industry that way, there's a lot to still be done in the cleaning space, which leads me to now all right. Well, one more thing before that is, today, does MaxiMade still exist? So both companies exist, and they're being ran by somebody else.
So MGN no longer exists. After I joined Pioneer, we closed that company because I essentially consolidated with Chase, and it was a collaboration. We decided to close that company, and MaxiMade still operates till this day. Yeah.
So that tweaks my question then. So you are still an owner. I was going to say, like, how did the transition go from being an owner to an executive? But so you're still an owner.
Yeah.
But now you are an executive role in another bigger firm.
Right.
How did I know for a fact ownership, leadership skill set is helping you in this role, but how did that shift occur for you? Like from a mindset perspective, like I'm part of a team again, but a team where I have, I have to work for another type of mission, still maybe the same mission as yours, but how did that happen? Like that first year when you made the transition?
Yeah, this is a really great question because it was, and I always like to come from a place of honesty and truth, but it was really hard. It was a really hard adjustment from being a business owner to an employee. And it was one that I knew it was going to be a challenge because when you're a business owner, I mean, Ricky, you never have to ask for permission. You just do, you go, you know that you're doing the hours. So that like mindset of, oh my gosh, I have a boss and I have to ask for permission. I will say though, Chase has never, ever, ever made me feel like I'm an employee. He's always made me feel like a partner. And so it was more of me and that conception or misconception of coming in. But I think it was a challenge because when I came into this organization, I'm very creative. And so I create and I create and I create, but I'm not great at like standardizing and operating like SOPs and things like that. Yeah.
Me neither.
Like,
no.
And no, I can't do it. Like, I remember telling Chase, I'm like, I feel like you're going to come in and you're going to like clip my wings. We always joke around about it because he's like, great idea, but where is your plan? Where is the step? I'm like, I can't, my brain doesn't think that way. Like, he's like, give me the A to Z. And I'm like, okay, I go to A and then G and then K and then R. And he's like, what is happening? So having that part of when you have something, an idea or a concept, or you wanting to make a change, having the discipline to properly plan for it and present it was something that was really challenging for me. And getting him to buy in on my crazy thoughts, he just was like, "What are you saying to me? You're not making any sense."
Yeah, no,
But he had,
I'm with you. I'll come up with the ideas, but
yeah,
you don't ask me to put a PowerPoint together. I
no.
cannot put a PowerPoint together on those ideas.
Yeah, and I think it was a point of growth for me too, right? Like I had to get to a point where I needed to have all of the pieces to the puzzle, because it's one thing to create, but it's another thing to create and then install and then implement. And that piece, I think I always struggle with the follow through. I
Yeah,
was great at everything up to, okay, now you got to run it and do it. And so that was a really big issue for me in the beginning. And I know we butted heads because he had to slow me down a lot and say, like, okay, not too many things. It's too many things happening all at once. Like, hold down. And I'm like, don't slow me down. We can
it's
do it.
also
I'm just okay. He's
you
like,
know.
Dad, worst mistake ever.
Have you seen the movie Air yet?
We were
No.
just
Oh,
talking about it. I'm going to watch it. Yeah.
you got to. I watched it last night because everybody kept telling me about it too. But
Yeah.
you'll appreciate some of the things. Matt Damon plays Sonny Vaccaro, Ben Affleck plays Phil Knight, but you'll appreciate the way you're talking and the way
Yeah.
we're speaking on idea creation to execution.
Yeah.
They bicker about like Sonny being the guy who's the idea creative guy, but like Phil Knight, I didn't realize. I learned a lot actually how Nike was back then, but Phil Knight's Phil Knight. Like this guy has built, Nike, like, and
Right.
the way he used to operate and treat his business back then, like he already was billions of dollars of sales, but he was still a just a unique decision maker because then he has a board and stuff. So I feel you. Like you have
Yeah.
Chase to report to, you got a board, you got coming from, you just pull the trigger, you wing it, right?
Exactly. That's
But I
such a
think
great way to say it.
But I think it helped. I would argue to say it actually probably completed you as a leader though,
Yeah.
to learn to take that challenge on to execute on that. Cause I'm still learning that every day. Like I have to, we have actually a CPO that is like an interim right now, Devin, and he puts everything through a pinwheel. He's like, Rick, you guys are coming up with so many features for route. He's like, hold on. He's like, half the shit right now, like, did you put it through, like he has like this hypothesis, test it, launch it, this. He's like, that's it. Every feature has to go through like 6 steps before it gets. I'm like, what do you mean? We just build. That's what we like to do. He's like, no, not no more. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that leads me to VP of product, right? VP of
Yeah.
technology at
Yeah.
Pioneer. I know you mentioned briefly about an app that you had worked on, but when did you joined Pioneer from the merger or the collab? You joining forces with Chase. Did you quickly come into this role that you're in today, or like how did this come to be?
Yeah. So when I had the conversation with Chase, we were very much in sync with core values and technology. And it's funny what you said earlier about like sometimes in your past you'd walk into rooms, you're like, I don't belong here. Like this is crazy. I don't have anything to really connect with these people. I still felt like that a little bit, like of the imposter syndrome in regards to tech, right? Like I don't have any tech background. I'm all self-taught. And this person has essentially asked me to run tech for a $50 million company. And so I remember thinking like, I know I can do it, but
Yeah.
should I be doing it? Like, and so when we started having a conversation about really what is the future of this technology, at that time it was Pioneer World, we immediately saw that there was an opportunity to take CAD Countdown, and which was the cleaning and disinfecting countdown, and merge it with Pioneer World. And what we came up with was Clean Code. So Clean Code is CAD Countdown, but in a much more robust way. So it's QR code technology throughout high touch point areas, and it gives you cleaning history, among other things. But what we also did was, because Pioneer World was something that they had been using previously to me, it was Chase's creation. It was essentially a fully integrated service platform that has quality control, task management, learning module. It has reporting. It has all these things that he saw an opportunity, just like you and I, of creating or improving processes and systems. And he created it on his own. And so at that time we said, okay, if we're going to do this, we're actually going to make it a suite of an entire platform suite that connects all the dots and form modules.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think of Adobe, you think of Google, they all have their own modules or suites. And that's essentially what we created with Clean Code and now Cora. And so Cora, there's no coincidence. It's heart. It's corazón. It's short for corazón, because it's the heart of our organization. It holds everything.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That was actually Chase's idea. He'll tell you, because I came up with the Clean Code and I came up with the name Clean Code, not the whole thing, but, and he came up with Cora. He named the platform Cora. I got to give him credit.
Nice. That's awesome. See, I didn't like, and then for people that don't know real quick too, why don't you, because you said, it's a larger BSC, like Pioneer, like describe Pioneer for, again, a lot of our listeners and viewers. Karina are like small to medium size. We do have a lot of larger BSCs as well. But I like to show people, like, again, where Pioneer came from to where they are today, to show people that this can be done, right? Like how we say it in Spanish, si se puede, right? Like this company grew from zero to where it's at today. So like and then because I want to go back to Cora part too, but like what Pioneer, where'd it come from, and where is it at today?
Yeah, so Pioneer is a large janitorial company that services the DC metro area. So Maryland, Virginia, DC, and now in Denver as well. So 1,300 employees, $50 million revenue, and I think it's 39 or 40 million square feet. Chase came on, and we actually just had our 30th anniversary last week. And so when Chase joined the organization, his father-in-law is the founder. And he came and started as a cleaner. Like he was cleaning floors, and he was interning with him and started to really understand the industry and wanted to work in the industry, but he had to work for his role within this company. And that's something to me so incredibly telling of his character. And he just slowly started rising within the organization. Nothing was handed to Chase. Everything that he worked for, he earned. And he transformed this company into what it is today. I think when he came, they were at a $5 million revenue.
I remember that. Yeah.
And now we're pushing 52, maybe. He's in it completely. He runs at his own speed as well, I will say, because he runs very, very fast, but he's super innovative, and he's very trusting of the process. You just have to be vulnerable with what you give. And that's something that I've learned from him as well. Like we can create everything we want, but we just have to lean in and really trust each other in a way that sometimes it's hard to do when you don't, because I had only known Chase maybe a year, and we were making big moves. I mean, like we transformed the platform, we broke off into a different entity for tech, and he had just met me. I mean, we joke around about it, but it's
that's trusting. That's a lot of trust.
It's a lot of trust.
Well, that's when I remember, when we met, I know you as VP of tech or VP of product. So that's why it was nice to learn about the journey to get to this role.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing about Pioneer. I know, I tell Chase all the time, I look up to how he's built the company itself right now, and very humble guy, down to earth. But he's a serious guy. When you talk to him, he's very serious.
Yeah.
But I remember, he was like, man, Rick, you got to meet Karina. She's, because he knew I was in tech too, and I didn't realize how much techie he was too. So again, we all started collaborating, blah blah blah. But back to now, Cora. Again, I did not realize how tech forward you guys were. I remember me showing him a little bit of route, and because I had assumed he was using a software to run his business. And he's like, nah, Rick, we homegrown. Everything is built in house. I was like, holy shit. I don't know too many people that have done that. So obviously you're in it with him right now. You guys are evolving. Like how fun is it to be building tech and be building the business? And you are maybe not because I don't think you guys have commercialized Cora, so it's not like they're the target market, but you're building for yourself. So
Right.
it's really proprietary, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
Cora side.
The Cora side isn't, I will tell you, I believe that there's no greater job for me. I have an enormous amount of gratitude for the position that I'm in and the ability to create, because I have a really unique role in the sense that I do create. I'm the product owner. So we're running sprints, and that whole world, backlogs and retros, and we're counting story points and organizing roadmaps with epics, etc. But I also am training frontline team members, and I am training ops, and I'm understanding their challenges within that industry, within that world. And so when I develop something or create something, I have them in mind, right? And so I
Oh,
can see
wow.
their challenges, and I can say, and when I present or I launch a product, they give me their raw and candid feedback. And it's been so incredibly rewarding for me to give them better ways to do things. Like, for example, when I first started, they were doing these reports, these nightly reports where they take pictures and they send the clients what they've done. When a couple months ago, I think we created what's a template, right? So essentially all they need to do is every account has their own personalized template. We drop in the images and everything is automated. So they can send everything from the platform. It's pre-populated, and they add just the information that's pertinent, locked offices, if there was a service interruption, periodic schedule, etc. What was taking them maybe 2.5 to 3 hours every night sending report, we cut it down to 7 minutes.
Come on.
I can't make it up. Yeah, I did a baseline survey project with them and really try to understand where they were at, what we could do to improve. And I quantified that time, and I had them walk me through exactly how they were doing it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to fix this for you. And it is probably the most rewarding thing in my career, is to see them do it so quickly. And they're like, Karina, this is amazing.
Well, think about it. That's I mean, that truly is a competitive advantage for Pioneer, because you're not using something off the shelf. You are going out, we joke about it all the time. It's like, oh, my target customer is right downstairs. Like, I get to test it on my own company. But you guys are really able to test it and build, and they have to respect that, because they know, they probably see, Karina, oh, she is VP of product. So I would say you have a competitive advantage than Karina, because I don't know too many product managers that are building software for cleaning companies that also can go train on that software with a cleaning technician. Like that's not common. That doesn't happen all the time. So they probably have a sense of reward, or like some inclusion, to think that button is because of me. I told her about it. That's my pain point.
Yeah.
Thank you, but like, hey, that's me too. I came up with it too.
1,000%. They take ownership and they love it. Ricky, I've had so many conversations with them, and they're so proud of that platform. They're so proud of Cora, and they talk about it, and they show it off when they're doing walkthrough and bid walkthroughs. They show everybody like how we operate. We have all of that information stored, and it's very quick, easy access. They can see all the budget information, everything that they need at their fingerprints, and they have the ability, like you said, to make those changes. They just have to tell me. And my policy is I'm always available, which is probably not the best policy, but you call me whenever you need. So I'm like tech support, I'm development, I'm product owner. So they'll tell me at like 11 sometimes, like, Karina, I have a great idea. I'm like, all right, tell me. So they are involved in the process of development from start to finish. Absolutely.
So as people are listening, right? Yes, this is a cleaning company that's building technology for themselves to stand out, but to improve for their frontline, right? Because I think you said it a few times. A lot of this vision and mission that you guys are building for is for the frontline, which then again trickles up to everybody else, right? Everybody wins when they win. What are, in 2023 going into 2024, like, what are the next things that you're thinking of that Cora has to do, that you have to do for Cora and for Pioneer, that you're thinking of, right? People are talking about robotics and stuff, but like, what are you guys focused on? You don't have to give away too much, but just what is next for you and the team that you guys are excited about?
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why we get along so well, Ricky, is because we're like-minded in the sense of like sharing the wealth. And helping each other. And I love that about our relationship. I think it's always been very like, well, what are you doing? What am I doing? How are you doing it? And this and that. We are really focused on analytics, like super focused on the data and really trying to make better, not only better decisions like I talked about, but recommended decisions. You know, Chat GPT, we've toyed with the idea of like having it, and we put it into our sandbox environment just to test it and see what it would look like for us. Because again, the data is key right now. We have to understand what we're doing and how we're doing it and make changes based on it. So we're transitioning to a place where reports and graphs and all of this information, not just internally, but externally. So presenting it to our clients on monthly business reviews. We're using it for sales tactics. We're using it for our teams to grow and train. We're using it for all different types. There's so much information we have in this system. And because now we're at, I would say, at 80% optimization of the platform. When we started, we were probably around 60, which means that you're using all of the modules.
Yeah.
And for us, we use client services, uses Cora, operations, human resources, accounting. Everybody is using this system. So you can imagine the wealth of knowledge and the data that we have. So I'm super focused on the actual analytics, and whether it be using, and this is something that I think is such a huge takeaway too from tech, is you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Like we don't want to create everything and be everything, but what we do want is to tie in or connect the other platforms that already do it. And for example, a analytical tool that already exists with an API, you can quickly connect it to what you already have built. Because if you try to be everything, you will be exhausted. Yeah.
No, I don't, when somebody says they're a one-stop shop, it's like, oh, hold on. What are you not great at then? Because there's no way you could be great at everything.
There's no way.
And then, so you said something earlier that I wanted to tie this back to too, is because I've been guilty of using this word, data-driven, right?
Yeah.
So we've used it here, data-driven, but I like how you twisted it to say data influence, because if you used a perfect example, this is like, if anybody's hearing this, like this is exactly what happens is you get an inspection, you get a complaint email, you get something that causes a pit of your stomach to react, right? And it's, you see red, you see, unfortunately, you see disappointed, you see these words and these phrases or colors that automatically yell, you screwed up, you messed up, you missed, but you nailed it when because we've started to do this, Karina, and it actually, the client always doesn't appreciate it, but like we don't try to rebuttal everything. But if we look at an inspection and it's a 3-day-a-week clean, and they're complaining on the day that we didn't clean the previous night because it's like, if you looked at what the data is telling us, yes, we missed that garbage. Of course we missed that garbage. We cleaned the day before that. You, again, be careful on how you respond back to the client, because you don't want to say, hey, you're wrong, but like that data influenced us. It didn't drive the decision. It influenced us to make the right choice on a response.
Well, and also in an era where technology is so dominant, data influence, it allows you to humanize it, right? Because you're looking at experience and education and knowledge and then data. You're taking that person or that team or that leader and saying your input and your opinion is valued here. Like, I need to understand what you're seeing, what was missed, what we didn't do, because the inspection is telling me. And I think as in the cleaning industry, it's very, very difficult to pause and say, okay, wait, but why was that missed? We just react. We're just like, oh my gosh, okay, we'll send somebody right now. Don't worry about it. Because we want to provide a service.
Please, we want to provide a service.
We want to always say yes, and we can do it, and we can fix it, and we can do better. But we never, ever take a second and say, wait, but like to your point, why did we miss it? Oh, we weren't there yesterday. That's why it wasn't picked up. So I think it's really exciting. And if more people really, and I think the other thing that I wanted to touch on too was the misconception that the cleaning industry is archaic, because that was something that 2 years ago, I think maybe was true, in the sense of like, archaic in maybe thinking or tech, but the cleaning industry as a whole has come a very long way, and there's
Oh
more and
yeah.
more platforms that have become introduced, just like the BSCI event that we attended here not too long ago. One of the sales guys for one of the platforms used that term. He's like, this industry is very archaic and this and that. And I was like, it's actually not archaic.
No.
It's much more innovative than you think. The problem I see is, like you said earlier, is companies come in and try to be an all-in-one. And there is no such thing. You cannot be that, because there's no single BSC that's the same. There's no
No.
company in the US that is the exact same as another. We're all different. We're all treated
All
different.
I mean, I would argue every single company is different. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I laugh because I tell, I got 2 Rickies on the team. I tell the other Ricky, our CTO, I'm like, Ricky, dude, some people like a certain color. Some people
Yeah.
like a button on the top right. Some people like it this font. Some people like Kanban. They don't like list. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, how are we going to serve everybody? Like, no,
Yeah.
we can't solve it for anybody. Let's focus on the ones that this is going to work for. And what we've done too, Karina, I think me and you were talking about this in the past, is I just want to create an ecosystem, right? We want to create where if I've done so much vetting and curating, understanding different technology, right? Where if you're just honest with contractors, you don't waste their time. You don't have make them go through a sign up, do a demo, try this product. Like, if you're looking for, a QR system, go here. If you're looking for a invoice billings, bill.com, don't reinvent the wheel.
Right.
QuickBooks, or if you'd be surprised how they would appreciate that. We argue that we can't use too many softwares though. That's one thing, right? Especially the small BSCs, they shouldn't try to use 10 different softwares.
Right.
I guarantee you some of them overlap and you don't have to. So my point is, people like me and you and others in the space, right? The Chases of the world too. Like, we should definitely collaborate more to make content where it's okay to use multiple solutions.
Yeah.
It's okay to use what you want to use.
Right.
Don't use what other people just tell you to use. Try it out, right? Test it out. It's got to work for you, because you work different than that guy next door, that person over there. She's different. I cannot believe how different every cleaning business, and you shouldn't have to change them. You shouldn't have. You can empower them and have them embrace it. But I'm like, the past few years, it's been eye opening to just see how people operate. Look, you guys built your own freaking for you. You built your own thing.
Well, and I'll add to that too. Like, I think a good rule of thumb is, if you are having to do workarounds with a platform, that's not the right platform for you. Don't do it. Don't
Nailed
do
it.
Like,
it's not meant to be tweaked.
No,
right now.
If it's not giving you your crews, if it's not giving you your schedule the way you want to see it, that's not the right platform for you. Do not try. What's that saying? It's like round peg, or
square in a round peg or something like that.
Okay, yeah. It's just not going to work.
I've been like chiseling the edges a little bit to get it in.
Don't do it.
Okay. All right. So I'd say, because again, we could talk for hours here. As you can see, we starting to geek out and having some fun here, but you have a birthday. It's your birthday. I need to let you get back to what you got to do.
21.
End with,
not really.
What would you like to leave, whether it's cleaning business owners or people in upper management, women, leaders in the role that they're building out to be, whether it's an owner or an executive role, like, what are some tidbits you want to leave the industry as we are today in 2023 and where we're going? Just any advice, any tidbits that you have for anybody?
I think, because I am in the tech in this space, if you are going to, the biggest advice is the platform optimization. If you're starting your journey with tech and trying to understand what solution's best for you, try to set out a timeline of optimization. Like, let's say the first 30 days you want to optimize to 10% to 15, and then the 60 days to 15 to 25. Do try to get to an 80 or 90% optimization, meaning there's a lot of features that the platform or software offers. Try to use all of them, because if you're just buying a platform to use the email marketing part of it, or the scheduling and you're not using all of it, that is a waste of your resources and a waste of your time and honestly money. So that would be my suggestion, is really think through an optimization plan, put it to paper, and see if that is something that it will be feasible with that product that you use, whatever it is that you choose.
Oh man, that was money, Karina. No, because think about it, like, and you answered it. I was going to interrupt, but you finished it off. So people may say, or Karina, what do you mean by optimization? So, because that happens all the time, even to Karina, with our own software, when we actually now, because we're getting more control of the situation, is if we notice somebody doesn't use everything, that's not a good thing, right? Like you want them to use as much as possible, to your point, because then that is a fully, it's a software solution that they can fully capitalize on.
Exactly.
Everything costs money.
Exactly.
You add it all up. I laugh about I gotta download this app too. I still haven't done it, but that Truebill app, like Netflix. I've got Netflix, Amazon Prime. I've got 18 different freaking
Hulu, Peacock, Paramount.
And I know I don't use half of them, and I still have done nothing about it. But anyways, that's not being optimized.
You do know that you can go to your account on your iPhone and turn it off, right? You can just turn off the subscription for your phone.
So I got
the more you know.
We need to talk once a month. I need to dig in. See, Chase has been holding you all to himself over there. Like, I don't know all those tactics, but okay. Leaving people with that note though, that's a great, because it is part of the future. So everybody knows, like, again, we're not saying, the human piece doesn't come out of, you always need the human component in building a cleaning company. But when you use technology, it's going to help you do your job better, and really just grow. So I appreciate the time of you jumping on here, Karina. Did you have some fun? Did you like it?
Fun. I did, actually. It went by really fast. I thought it was big, but it was really fun. You're very good at this.
No, come on. It's just,
Don't say that because we're still recording.
Is this? No. All right, guys. So we are wrapping up. Karina, I want to say thank you again. And I always end with, I hope you're cool. We're going to add like your LinkedIn, any kind of contact information that we have in the bottom of the YouTube description for the video. On the audio, everybody knows they can listen to it on Google, Spotify, Apple. If people want to get in contact with you, I'm sure you'd be okay with it.
Yeah,
I'd encourage you guys all, if you have any kind of technology questions, or just leadership questions, because I think tech and leadership is things you can speak on, or even again, family business stuff. Reach out to Karina, you guys. She's a wealth of knowledge. Karina, thank you so much for jumping out with me. I've had a great time. Yeah. Until next time, I'll see you at the shows. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
But then cheers to you and your birthday. Cheers. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining again for another episode of Cleaning Cocktails. I will see you next time, and I appreciate you for joining us.